YouTube, and today I'll be breaking down how I use the manual mode on my camera. There are quite a lot of benefits of using your camera on manual mode. You get to control your aperture, your shutter speed, and your ISO. Those are the three most things I control when I have my camera on manual mode. And each of these controls is responsible for the amount of light that touches your sensor. So with each, you can control if your picture becomes dark or bright. The first one is your shutter speed, and it is responsible for the motion that is in your picture and also the amount of light that hits your sensor. So the less shutter speed, the more your image will have motion blur. Here are a few pictures that will show you how it works. The second one is your aperture. It also determines the amount of light that hits your sensor, so it's also responsible for the brightness or darkness of your image. When controlling your aperture, you are basically controlling the opening of the lens. So if your aperture is at 1.8, it gets big, and then if it's at like 22, it will get small. It is also responsible for the blurriness of your background compared to your subject. Here are some images to show how that works. The last one is your ISO, and it is also responsible for the darkness or brightness of your image. And it also controls the grain in your image. Here are a few pictures to show you how it works. And lastly but not least, this is how I determine which settings to put, like in terms of my shutter speed, aperture, ISO. In most cases, I leave my ISO at 200 or 400 depending on the time of the day. If it's a bit dark, I'll put it on 400, and that's usually my max ISO. If it's during the day, I normally leave it at 200. And when it comes to the aperture, I mostly like the bokeh vibe. So if I'm shooting on a 50mm lens, I'll leave it at f1.8. And if I'm shooting on a standard lens or normal lens, which normally goes to 3.5 lowest if I'm not mistaken, and yeah, I leave it there too, because I usually like my images to have like that bokeh feeling, like blur out their background and then put the subject in focus more, which is why I leave it at a lower f-stop. And then lastly, the shutter speed. When it comes to the shutter speed, it depends what I'm shooting. If I'm shooting at an event or something that is in motion, I usually pump up the shutter speed in order to capture that thing and not show it in motion. But if like I'm shooting probably a fashion shoot, it will depend on the light. So yeah, that's how I play around it. Here are a few images to show you what I'm talking about. And that's the end of the video. Hopefully you learned something new, and if you have any questions, please drop them down the comment section. And you know what to do. Hit that red button thing over there, subscribe, like, share, comment, just do the most. Yabonga.